guys, welcome to Clockwork Dandy Noodles and welcome back to Clockwork Rewind. This is a little spin-off series I'm doing where we're going to spin the clock back and look at 12 episode 1s of animes that I have seen before. And the point of this is to show you guys some different animes that you may have missed if you are new to watching anime in general. You may have missed some of these older shows that have aired, or you may at least know their names but you're not sure if you want to watch it or not. Bear in mind there will be some slight spoilers because I have seen the shows before. I am not intending to do big spoilers, especially in this one. I'm gonna miss out certain names on purpose just so you guys don't know what's going on, and I'm not gonna ruin any big twists that are coming your way, but I am going to go through episode 1. My score, what I thought of it originally. I'm gonna see if it holds up. Before we get going, do make sure you guys are subscribed. It really does help us. We are losing likes right now, which is really, really sad. Hopefully we can start going back in the right direction. So I just hope it's nothing that I have done that is upsetting people, but it is disheartening. But without further ado, I want us now to spin the clock right back to January 2014, 9 years ago. I think Black Butler's last season aired at this point as well, but there are currently 3 seasons of Noragami out. Recently, some people were telling me there's rumblings of season 4 talk, but it ended up being the 4th season of Black Butler. Sadly, no season 4, but I want to tell you guys that this is one of my 3rd favourite animes of all time. Adore Noragami. At one point, I had Yato's hoodie. I do want to do a cosplay, but I can't tell people who it is because in this episode doesn't exist. You see her in the opening credits, but that's about it. If you are curious at some point, I will tell you guys, maybe in the comments down below, who it is I'm planning to cosplay. My score back in those days, all those years ago, was a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. This is where there's differences. So last week we did Steins Gate and my score was identical. This week there is actually some discrepancies because Mal only has it as a 7.95. So it has actually slipped from the 8s. It was in the 8s for the longest of times. We're going to go through it and hopefully you guys can make up your own minds. Maybe I can get some more people to go onto the Noragami train and you guys might love it to pieces and you can bump that score up for me. That would be great. Now I will admit I totally forgot how the show opened. Even I was like, wait, is this how the show opens? A girl in school. It's basically just school bullying. You get a lot of vocals and everybody goes blue. You'll notice with the show in particular, especially the OP, blue is a ongoing theme or colour or vibe when it comes to this show. If we associate certain colours with shows, Noragami is blue. We do see a lot of blue in this moment where everybody around her is faceless. She's the only person in colour. She's also the only person who you can see facial wise asking God for help. Getting that Noragami theme straight to it. The 5 yen flip. That is when I also went, oh yeah, this is how it opens. The idea of asking God for help and finding Yato appear. Some information about the way the phantoms actually work when it comes to the Noragami universe. Now, in the Noragami universe, negative energy creates phantoms. They are beings or spiritual beings formed of all that energy and they take a shape. It's quite jarring. This is a reddish kind of colour. They're always a very bright poppy colour just to make it look like it's abnormal or not real, which will also fit with the dream sequence for Yato later. Whenever we're doing something that doesn't feel quite real, it's always really weirdly coloured. The anime does that on purpose. It uses its colour palettes to get across this is the real world, this is the one which is in between, and then this is the godly kind of realm, which you get a bit later on in the show. A lot of very nice environmental buildings in the show when it comes to Tokyo, because a lot of this takes place in Tokyo on the streets. I think they do a very good job of creating that very bustly, this is what Tokyo feels like. Nowadays, his voice actor is famous for being Levi from Attack on Titan. He was also in Monogatari, which is quite cool because he's also really, really good in that. I really do love the artwork. It's nice because you get to see him moving around. You get to see how he flows as he takes on the phantom. You won't see this again for a little while because he doesn't have a regalia. It's very nice to see that ritualistic nature, how he's supposed to dispel it. This is how it's supposed to go if I have a weapon, dispelling the phantom and getting rid of it properly. The school is at exam periods. Everybody is anxious as hell and they've created this negative emotions. Now, I don't remember if you see the girl again and if things have gotten better. Very quickly, he does explain that he is a minor god. Learn about it via his regalia. She's very quickly gone. She's a recurring character. She doesn't want to work for Yato anymore or be in his service because he's a minor god. He's got very stinky, sweaty hands. Don't remember if he has stinky, sweaty hands, but I think it might be played as a pun a little bit later on as well. She basically quits. Yato's rejection, episode 1, immediately putting him straight back to rock bottom, not having a weapon to protect himself. We saw in that first fight, which was really, really nicely animated. I love the colour as well when it goes red. There's a lot of that with this show in particular. You'll see they drop colours quite nicely, where it'll be red and blacks or it'll go into blues and whites. Sometimes they do that just to get rid of all the unnecessary faff. It's the first episode. It does very, very well at getting a lot of these Noragami rules down. The girl became a weapon. He was able to dispel the phantom quite nicely. There's a hierarchy amongst the gods. It moves very quickly. You do feel like you've had a lot crammed into the first episode, but I also really, really like it. It gets the fundamentals down, everything you need to understand further episodes from this episode. It's a good foundation episode. Now let's talk about the opening. Unlike Steins Gate, which has that very famous opening, the first season opening isn't really much to talk about. It's good, but it's not the famous one. Now I think everybody knows Hey Kids. You know it when you hear it. I wanna hold your hand. That is the famous one. I think that's season 2's open. But the first OP is still a really good OP. I do kind of remember it. Not as much as the other one because I have the other one on my phone. We have that colour desaturation going on again, where we've got lots of straight lines. We've got the wires of the street poles, and a lot of the OPED for season in particular, it's the streets. This is Tokyo. There's lots of stop signs in the open itself. We follow Yato, and the ED we follow Hiyori. It's a really nice one because we see him meandering, but at this point the blue comes in as our main colour. As I said, if Noragami was a colour, it's gonna be blue. The black and white with Yato, but the blue is all there. So it's a reverse colour pop, seeing Yato on the bench, then following him as he rides around on a public transport, feeling lonely. There's a lot of very empty shots because Yato, as we see in this episode, he can't be seen by humans but want to be seen by people, because the thing of him being a god is he needs people to believe and follow him if he's gonna rise up those ranks of being a god. But if you can't be seen, it's very, very difficult to do a great deal, which is obviously a lot of what this show deals with and tries to overcome. In the OP, we see other gods starting to be introduced in the same clever way, where every god has one main colour that represents them as a person. Yato being blue, we've got greens coming in, we've got yellows coming in. The character I want to do has the purple, so go and have a little look if you want to see where the purples are. Chorus starts to hit. I still think it's really catchy, even if it's not the better of the songs. That's when we first see our main trio. It's a trio when it comes to this show in particular. We've still got the colour popping going on. We've got the blue, the pink and the orange when it comes to the main three. In the centre, nice spiral motion on the camera. They're all in the spotlights, which is quite nice because these are our spotlights. These are our main characters. There's a few hints at the darker plots coming up. There's also a hint at an upcoming fight. That is the fight with the character that I want to costume as well. The fight is insane. I love it. The fights in Noragami are probably where the highlights are for me. It's strong everywhere, but the fights really stand out because at times the show doesn't do a great deal, and it doesn't have to do a great deal. It's got a lot going on. But the fights, when they happen, they don't slouch. They are very nicely done. Now we get hints at the darker plot. It's not just a very light, airy show about gods. There's more going on, guys, and I promise you, it gets really good. A lot of people are holding out that one day we might get that season 4. I don't know. I mean, if Black Butler can get one after 9 years, maybe we can get season 4, but my worry is they're just going to try and remake it at some point, which, I mean, I'm all for if you're going to follow it through. I still think the first seasons, they hold up fine anyway, because they look good. Once the OP has finished, we have a nice quiet open with Yato just on the bench. We get a few more hints at how things work. We'll see him looking at the jar of yen that he has collected. He's got quite a few of them though, considering every single one of those yen is a wish. You know he's been at it a little while. Life has basically kicked him to the bottom of the barrel. We've got a dog literally peeing on the ad that he's sprayed on the wall. That's literally as low as it gets. Nice to see that the animals feel safe around him though, because obviously the humans can't see him, but the dog can see him. The ball starts to get rolling as the first event to kick it all off occurs, and of course it's a cat. It's always a cat's fault. Milord goes missing. Pretty sure there's something a little bit more supernatural with the cat, because most of the time people believe that animals can see ghosts. My cat did something kind of creepy yesterday, so I really hope that's not the case, but I know cats can be very peculiar. What kicks off the plot of Noragami is a cat goes missing. We are also introduced to our second lead, Hiyori, which is nice to get her in the first episode. And she is your fun lead, and you do start to fall for her quite quickly because she's a girl who gets turned on by wrestling, martial arts, and that is her little secret. Quite quickly shown to be from quite an affluent family. She's not a girl who has family issues, as a lot of these animes can sometimes kind of bleed around. She's fun to be around, but she's also trying to keep who she is away from her parents. I literally get turned on by the guy roundhousing the other guy. It's nice to see both plots overlapping quite quickly. You have Yato calling for Milord. Nobody reacts whatsoever. And you can see Hyuri with her friends discussing what girls typically do. Have you got a crush? Who do you actually like? Hyuri announces that she doesn't really have a crush or anything. That is when we get the two literally crossing paths. Hyuri and Yato seemingly looking at one another. Yato is technically looking at Milord. Obviously, he can see Hyuri's looking at him, but as we find out that humans can't really see him, he just presumes that she's looking at somebody else. He doesn't actually react to her. You see him suddenly react as he tries to go and catch the cat, who is now in the middle of the road. It's also very nice because this sequence where they actually do seem to catch each other's eyes, we get the exposure suddenly being turned up. It gets really, really bright, which I think could be maybe the first moment where Hyuri's powers or her body slipping starts to occur, because I think he says that it's because of the accident, but I think it's more because she catches his eye, and I don't think she's supposed to be looking at Yato. I think it is actually announced later on why, but I can't remember exactly why she can actually see Yato and nobody else can. What better than having the Isekai Truck-kun appearing in the anime? Yes, we're gonna go there. We're gonna have Truck-kun appear and hit our girl. But sadly, the anime decided it did not want to go down the Isekai route. And I'm glad, because I don't think I would like the show if it went into Isekai territory. I think having it work in the same universe as one that we can relate to really, really works. Even in the world that we're in, people who believe there's a supernatural, there's people who believe that there's more to life, or there's a place where you go when you die. So I think it's nice to have it set in the real world. Hyuri tries to save Yato. She sees him as a person. The secret really is that Yato was a god. The truck would have gone straight through him. He's at no danger at all. She doesn't see that though. She only sees him as a person, and I guess it shows you quite quickly what kind of person Hyuri is as a character. Somebody who will put herself on the line for a complete stranger. She scolds him for not looking where he's going, but the same can be said to her because she did the same thing. Your first anime proper twist comes along where Hyuri continues to yell at Yato when you suddenly see that there's a second Hyuri laying unconscious in the road being murdered by Truck-kun. It's Welcome to Noragami, guys. This is weird, but it's not going to be the weirdest this show gets. The show gets a lot more weirder, but it's such a nice twist that comes along and it gets you going, oh, okay. That's peculiar. What's going on? Because at first you're like, well, why can she now talk to him? Or because you're following Yato all the whole time, you would just presume that people can see him. And this is the moment where you see that nobody's reacting to him or anything. As the truck driver says, the girl jumped in front of the truck. There's nobody there. They didn't say she tried to save somebody. It's the girl jumped in front of the truck. There's nobody else there. So very quickly, we are introduced to Hyuri's parents as the doctor and how he runs the whole hospital. So he has a lot of money. He is loaded. We get a nice look at her parent too, who is very protective, loves her daughter. It's not an anime where we're dealing with a broken family or anything, which I think makes a change when it comes to animes, because often enough, either a parent is dead or one parent is just absent all the whole time. Sometimes a lot of the shows have both parents absent as well. Nobody saw Yato. The girls who are with her don't recognize Yato or anything. Even at this point, she starts to wonder, I saw somebody, but maybe I didn't see somebody. She starts to doubt. Now, the next sequence is quite nice because it doubles up as a bit of a spooky, scary scene. You guys know me. I love my scary stuff. I'm breaking down 2 spooky animes this season. It's a shame it's not Halloween season because it feels like this would be a good lineup for a Halloween. This scene is really nice, and the anime does this quite a bit. You start getting these disembodied voices, lots of quick cuts to the eyeballs that float on the screen. If you don't like eyes, you're going to really hate this scene. It's supposed to be off-putting. It's supposed to be scary. It's supposed to be jarring. The lights are really, really bright in these very darkened hospital hallways, and you can hear the voice of these disembodied voices starting to talk to each other, which are clearly ghosts of the departed. And hospitals are quite scary. There's a lot of people who pass over in hospitals. I've never been unfortunate enough to have to spend a night in a hospital, and I hope it stays that way because I don't like the idea of spending a night in a hospital because it creeps me out. I mean, I like my own bed, obviously. There's also the whole, I just don't like being in a place like that because something about hospitals to me just makes me uncomfortable in general, and I don't think they're supposed to be a comfortable place. Very nice sequence because it turns into sensory overload when you've got all of this audio board coming in like a wall of sound. It's such a nice little sequence. Then we go into perhaps one of the most memed scenes ever. You haven't seen Noragami, but you might have seen this sequence where he's in the bed with Hyuri and she just like rips it open, and most of the time people put something in the bed with her, so she might rip it open and maybe you've got Truck-kun in the bed. I don't know, people have done funny things with it. I think at some point it might have been Titan in the wall from Attack on Titan at the end of the first season where where you see the face in the wall. I think she's done that before where she's opened a blanket and that's been there instead of him. But it is one of the most memed scenes. Absolutely hilarious. You get to see the little spiky teeth that Yato occasionally gets when he's being mischievous. Also nice because it cuts up a very serious scene that it's just come from, because things did get really creepy. It goes into this really nice light-hearted fun moment where her hissing as well, her reacting so fast and hissing like a cat on the sofa is really nice, because also when her dad says your CAT scan came back okay, I'm pretty sure it's a CT scan. It's not a CAT scan, it's just a CT scan. So the fact he's called it a CAT scan and then she acts very cat-like and she's now got the tail on the back of her butt. So it's an umbilical cord because it's technically tied you to the body, but you're not. But we do get our final proper intro for Yato, which is really, really nice. And it's a comedy gold moment as well, because this is me. I am a god. And then she's like, hello, police. There's like a weird man in my room. He appeared in my bed. He's calling himself a god. You're gonna go, okay, this is a crazy guy. I'm gonna call the police. That for me was a funny moment. It's the way that it's played. There's a lot of really nice pauses. The dream sequence too, when Yato starts to explain what his dream, what his motivation really is. It is the brightest sequence in the whole first episode because it's colourful, because of how amazing it sticks out. Because this is my dream. My dreams are allowed to be bright. My dreams are gonna be colourful because I have the biggest dream that I am going to become a god. I'm going to be well known. It's really nice to see it, and a few people have cosplayed Yato with the crown and everything. It just gives you an idea of what he's like as a person, because he wants to become a loved god. He doesn't want to be just a nobody when nobody knows him or nobody can see him. He wants to be a god that everybody can appreciate. And Hyuri tries to ask him for his name. She's like, oh, I've never heard of that god. That is the point. Obviously, I'm not going to spoil exactly why. There's reasons for this. They're very, very clever. Huge reveal in season 3 when you do get the official reason, time that it comes in, because it's very crucial. A lot plays into that sequence. But a lot of these early scenes have a different meaning when you go back and rewatch them after seeing those later scenes. Hyuri doesn't believe him until he jumps out the window and she collapses, which is meant to be a hint at God of power, so he kind of woke her up. I don't remember if this is explored a little bit further down the line. I think it is. I think he does it a few times. It's nice because it's the first time that they had a proper conversation. It's the first time you, the audience, finally get introduced to Yato properly, because he introduces himself. He also gives you the hint that this is the first time he's ever seen a human, or a human acknowledge him, which is very, very sad if you think about it. Now, Hyuri then forgets her entire experience, and we have a normal day in Japan. I love the fact that you've got the traffic. I like the environmental building. You can see that she's trying to get the hints because she knows something's weird, but she can't put it together. It's like, I want to remember, but I can't remember. At this point as well, Hyuri is not meant to remember anything. You've had an experience with a god. You're not supposed to remember this supernatural event. Her curiosity to see him is the reason why it starts to appear more and more. And then she's obviously slap bang looking at the poster which started it all, the cat that started it all, Milord. And that's when she starts to look for the cat. We get another fantastic fight in the same episode with the frog. This fight is absolutely amazing and it's so jarring. The frog is blue. Anything that's slightly supernatural has to stand out, and that's why you've got a very jarring colour for him. Hyuri coming along is hilarious because she tries to replicate the roundhouse kick that we saw in the martial arts video earlier, which works so well. It shows you the character again. She's not afraid to try and stand up for people. She's got a nice character. I think she's a great MC because she's not scared of doing anything. She's not useless. She's a character who has a purpose and she will do what it takes. You can also see as well that this is how a fight goes when you don't have a regalia. You can see Yato trying to call a weapon, but then he's like, oh no, I don't actually have one. This is really, really bad. But it's so nicely animated. The whole sequence is really nice. It's colourful. It's action-packed. I really enjoy it. I still really enjoy watching it now. It's also made me really want to watch the second episode. I don't have time to continue it at the moment, but it is such a good show because a lot of these things you start wanting answers for. You're like, well, why did that happen? How does this happen? Yato also explaining why Hyuri can do what she can do is quite nice at the end as well. You see the second Hyuri. There's a real world. There's also in between, and then there's a god realm. So there's technically 3 worlds. She takes it to the extreme, thinking that she's the same as the frog. It's not quite the same, but it's a really nice way of introducing it. It doesn't feel like an info dump because she's asking a question. What's going on? Turn my body back to normal. It makes sense. It's not like he's just reeling it off for no reason. He's answering her question that she's asked, and it makes sense that here is your info. This is the info that you've asked for. You guys know me. I hate info dumps for the sake of info dumps. It's nice when it makes sense. The next section is obviously where we go into finally having the paths connecting. First episode is to get these two to at least cross paths. story that he tells about the afterlife, it's a little creepy because he does say that you now need to adjust to the idea that you're gonna lose control of your body, which must be very terrifying. Similar to narcolepsy in the real world, she could probably pull it off as a medical condition. Even people who deal with narcolepsy, that must be such a big change, a big impact on their lives that they have to come to terms with. It's a very scary thought, and that is initially what makes Huri go, wait, no, I can't deal with this. That's when she says, well, if you're a god, you must be able to change it. And then that's when we have her making a wish. Her wish to Yato is like him to put it back and make sure that she can not slip out her body. You also have to realize that if that occurs and one day he makes it happen, she may never be able to see Yato again. Obviously, you keep that in the balance as well, that if that happens, maybe their friendship might stop at some point. Just keep it in your back of your brains for now. And once again, where we started, 5 yen. Back on that total of 5 yen. Yato is no rip-off merchant. He doesn't have to charge a lot of money. It's technically more a 5 yen acts as a vehicle to get your wish to the god. I think 5 yen, even in UK terms, is like a penny. It's nothing. It's the lowest denominator of money that you can get. A god like him is supposed to be accessible to everybody. So even if you are homeless and you find a penny on the floor, your wish is still going to make it to Yato, the god. That's the point. The ED, I completely forgot about the ED. I'm not going to lie, it's quite forgettable as a song, but it's very nicely composed. The colour popping is used once again. We're now following Huri home. We've got some very nice colours going on. We've got the reds, the pinks. Obviously, those are her colours. It's a nice reverse. We've got all those street signs once again because a lot of the show takes place in the streets in Tokyo, in the real world. Huri just walking. You can see Yato and question mark, I'll keep the name secret for now. You can see them looking at her. You can see that she can kind of make out there's something there, but they're not quite. You can see they're in blue because, again, those are Yato's colours. Train goes by, which I think is such a nice little segment because it cuts the ED in half. You can see her suddenly realising that something was there. It's not there anymore. And now I'm going to go and try and find it. I can't see them anymore, but I'm going to go find you. And it's the determination of Huri trying to find them. And when she eventually does find them, she ends up offering an umbrella to them, which is such a nice little moment. From the ED, you can deduce that Huri is sad without really being able to find them, but when she finds them, she's happy. It's got so much going on there. There's a lot of symbolism going on. There's a lot of metaphors for the show as a whole. This is one of my favourite animes. I think it's so nicely done. There are some really sad moments in the anime too. There's some really epic fights. There's some moments in this show that have ended up on top 10 animes that do blah, 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 blah. It's been on a lot of lists. It's a very big show that a lot of people do love. I really hope that you guys have enjoyed my first breakdown. If you've seen the show too, let me know what your thoughts are on the show down below. If you haven't seen it, I have to let me know if you're going to consider watching it at some point. Definitely recommend it because it's such a good show. It's a good fun ride. It gets sad, it gets spooky, it gets weird, and it's hilarious. I think there's something for everyone. Thank you guys so much. I really hope you guys have enjoyed yet another rewind. I guess the big question is, do I think my score initially holds up? It may be a wee bit high considering I think season 2 is the better season. I do still think it's a very strong season. I don't think it's as low as a 7.95. If I had to lower it a little bit, I'm still going to give it an 8.5 for being as solid as it is. Now, it's not the same as the masterpiece that is Steins Gate Episode 1. Episode 1 for Steins Gate is just so perfect. But it is a very strong open. You get a lot of the groundwork down. You get a lot of the characters down. You get a lot of the way that the world is going to work. It is nice. There's some really nice moments. So I think I still wouldn't drop it. I still think it holds up. Thank you guys so much. I will see you guys again next week. I will again let you guys know via community page what we're going to be breaking down a few days ahead so you can get excited or rewatch it yourself. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you do so you can see that community page and when the episodes drop. Thank you so much. I will see you guys again soon. Bye bye.